speed limit in this
He's
state,
looking
Mr.
at you,
Knapp?
kid.
45 miles an hour.
How fast was I going, officer?
I'd say around 90.
But what about us?
Memories. You're talking about memories.
Good, now have a drink.
I don't want anything of his or any part of it.
Except his life.
I wonder if I know what you mean.
I wonder if you wonder.
Played it for her, you play it for me. I lived a few weeks while she loved me. Waiting for a lady. Someday you'll understand that.
Got some news that's gonna take a lot of tension off you and Laura.
Stop it, Dix. I can't take any more of this.
I should be in the phone.
But there is sleep all over America.
Your hosts for the show, Carly Street and Jason D. Morris.
Aha!
There you are. Okay, there now. I can see you.
There we go.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfect now.
Okay,
Awesome.
Oh yeah, this was too easy.
I know. How
It
are
looked
you
like a
this
bit of work
morning?
on your part. I'm good. I tried for working a little bit late last night on this, and then but I think I kind of just stayed up all night. So I don't know. It just got to a point where I was just writing stuff down. But how are you doing? This is now like well into your afternoon. If I have this right, you're about 2 in the afternoon or something like that.
Yeah, 1 in the afternoon. Yeah.
1 in the
So
afternoon.
it's nice because we've been having like a bit of a heat wave for the past couple of days, and we don't have heat in the UK, so everybody's like flipping out and melting and passing out, and now the rain's like slowly on its way. I've had to get my my daughter's ring light to light up the room because otherwise it's just pitch black.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if this was going to work. Actually, I just found that there is a little shutter on the laptop that covers the camera, I guess, for if you were concerned about, I don't know, the internet filming you or something. But I didn't know that. But there's actually a little physical cover on most laptops. So that's why we couldn't get the camera working when we tried that before. But it's good for you with the heat wave, though. That's nice to hear. We were just in England, not well, it was I guess last year now, but it was we lucked out and it was absolutely beautiful there. But we got the rain one day, and then of course that was the same day there was protesters on the tracks on the tube, and it just became like instant, like London, like a nightmare. I like, oh my, and it was getting worse. And my instinct was to flee. We're, I think, not Paddington, 1 or 2 stations from Paddington, but my instinct was just to flee, like to get out of the station because more and more people are coming in. And I've seen, like we're not gonna be able to move. Like we just need to run from this. Like it was pretty bad. But yeah, no, good for you with the weather for sure.
Yeah. No, it's like that in London all the time. I have the instinct to run and flee. There's just too many people around because you'll be there and there's nobody, and then you blink and there's like 1,000 people
They're coming
in every direction.
But no, what we do, we love it there. I go back. I think it was like their 3rd time back when we can. But this was one of this trip. We actually got outside of London, so I think we got to Oxford and Bath, down to Brighton. Brighton was a hoot. I loved that. That was so much fun. I'd never really been down there, so that was. Yeah, again, a lot of protesters though. Our train to get to Brighton became very roundabout because there was protesters. I guess they go right up on the tracks and set up and try to disrupt. I don't know if because Brighton was like a holiday destination, it's sort of targeted, but everyone's like, oh yeah, this happens all the time.
It does. It does. If it's not protesters, then it's just rail strikes. So it's just trying to get anywhere by train can, depending if it's like a bank holiday or something, you've got no hope because something's happening.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's so. Anyways, how was? You have a good week though? A good week at work and everything fine for you?
Yeah. It wasn't too bad. I'll be honest. I've been spending all my past week responding and trying to field emails and messages and things off LinkedIn and Twitter because we're going to try and do an animated short film. And I thought with our
wicked.
budget, nobody would go for it because it's asking quite a lot. And I understand it's asking quite a lot. But we want to kind of, it's like a Peter Pan kind of inspired story. So we want to help Great Ormond Street Hospital with it because they have a lot of the rights to Peter Pan in the UK. And technically we don't need to with this project, but it kind of feels wrong not to help them if we can.
Absolutely.
So I just put out a post expecting nobody to be interested. And I think every man and his dog apparently wants to do this and they're all really good. And I've just sat for hours just trying to send like nice personal replies because it's so nice that people are actually willing to like do slave labor.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, it's a different era now for getting things done like that, and it's so I do find that like how people are finding each other now too with like especially with the independents, it's like incredible, and just people I don't know getting around. I don't know, it's like they almost don't need the studios anymore. Like so much can be done now, and there's so many tools at your disposal. It's good. I love hearing the stories like that.
Yeah,
So, well, I hope to hear more about that in the future. Then, is that like with Resurrection? When you say we, I haven't seen that. I haven't read about that. I keep tabs on what's up with you guys, but I hadn't caught wind of that one yet. Yeah, that's exciting. I love short film. I'm a huge fan of short film animated features. You you guys did a film fest a couple years ago. Was it the Dark Fest? And there was an animated feature on that. I believe I want to say it was called Agatha. It was one of the most impressive things I'd seen in like as far as animated. And I've never really been able to find anything else about it. But no, I love the platform. I'm always I'm a huge champion of short films. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, well, do you know when we did the festival, I'm not trying to take anything away from the features, but the short films were always like really, really hard to pick between because they were so, I don't know. I think there was just so much more heart that was always put into them. And even if they weren't the best budget or they weren't the best acted or whatever, you could just like feel the heart. You could feel the joy coming from somewhere of somebody that's been part of it. And with the features, they were good. There was some really, really polished, incredible films that should have been in cinemas, but they were good. They didn't have like the little indie heart of like all the other little shorts, and they were always really, really hard to pick between. That's why we had so many awards, I think, because we were just like
I tried to actually I did I tried to comment on them just to it was just to help organize my thoughts, but it's I think part of it with the shorts too is like because you don't have time for build up and character development, like so many things, which I actually love. Like I love big slow burn movies, but it's just impact and how many times I've just been devastated or floored by a 90-second film that has like you say more heart or more like oh my god than like a 2-hour thing I had just sat through, and it's I guess it's just the energy is just compressed into this tiny little capsule. But I'm a huge fan. I love it.
yeah.
So I hope to hear more about that. Yeah, I would definitely look forward to that. How would you go about releasing when you say that you're looking at doing this? Like, what are your avenues for other than being included maybe in extras along with an accompanying feature film, and then other than like a couple of years of film festivals, what else can you do with a short film now? I mean, I don't know, in the UK, we had a short film channel in Canada for a while. I loved it, but it didn't last. It's just too bad.
Oh,
It was like an MTV of short film, and it was so cool. But I just like there's no platform for them, and it really always sort of makes me sad. And other than we don't actually live in a city, so I loved it when a lot of the film festivals, when you could start doing the online, and like I saw so many film festivals that year of lockdown. Because so many people had turned. I think that's how I came across the Dark Fest. Obviously, I wasn't in California for that.
Yeah, it's to be fair, a lot of people knock YouTube, and I understand why they knock YouTube, but it is a really, really big platform for short films because of the setup of it. Because it's people that don't want an hour and a half of content; they want an hour and a half of 25 different pieces of content to entertain themselves. So we've had a lot more success recently on YouTube because of shorter episodes, things like Haunted Objects and things like that. So that is a really good platform for short films, particularly if you get it on a monetized channel, because then somebody is going to make money at the end of the road out of it. It might not be a lot, but it's better than nothing.
No,
We also,
absolutely.
in the UK, sometimes they will have short films on Channel 4 as well. And some of this, they have like Sky Arts. So they'll do like an evening of
Cool.
sort of like a
Yeah.
block of short plays or short films or different themes. The BBC used to do that, but I don't really think they've done that for a while. And they do play them in the cinema sometimes, almost like its own trailer. But they have to be very, very... There's a big time constraint with them, so that kind of takes any fun out of anything. You're having to like take a 10-minute one, for example, and hack it up into what they're going to want to play to run like an extra long car advert. So you don't really get a lot of substance with those. But it can be good if you've got really good quality filming equipment and it looks really flashy and it's fabulous. That can be a way to go.
Well, the YouTube is I forget about YouTube. The only reason I forget about YouTube, honestly, because I'm always locked out. I've been at war with them for years, and I don't save. So I can't save anything, and I've been trying to I can't. Every time I try to subscribe to Resurrection, it's like, oh, you need to sign in, and it's like, oh my god, you have no idea. I'm actually pretty good at most of that stuff, but YouTube, I have found that it's so difficult. I've been a guest for years, so I do need to work that out so I can actually dig deeper into some of that content.
Yeah, it can be a pain because you're at the whim of YouTube, and they can decide anytime that you're a robot and you can't have an account anymore. And they do it in
I've
waves,
seen that and that's happened to you guys a couple times now, where something happens and you lose your place in line. I guess is sort of how it, you're back down at the bottom and no one will be able to search you out. But yeah, I saw that and that's happened to a few people I know that use the different platforms for that. How one misstep and that's it. You're you're at the bottom of the list.
The problem is, to be fair, because what triggered it for us was because we had a surge of views. So we got 30,000 views on Collapse within something silly like 48 hours without even trying. Just something happened. It went in the algorithm. A few people commented and it just sort of got pushed to everybody. So because we'd never had that amount of views before, they basically went, you must be a robot.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
So you can't win for... Yeah.
No, but they did it in like waves. So there was loads and loads of people across all the world that had the same thing kind of happen to them because they'd done a new test with an algorithm. So it pushed loads of channels up. And then when it pushed them up, it went, oh, sorry, you're a robot. And then so it took all the watch times and watch hours off people like that and stuff. And it is a bit of a pain to prove that you're not a robot, to be honest.
Well, I know I finally got rid of one of my search engines for like how many times you have how many, pick each square that has a bus and it has a bike in it. But it'd be like 10 times. And it's like, I can't do this. I don't know. The future's a bit frightening. So I don't, oh my gosh.
It's for people like me who've got zero patience level. I click like 2 boxes that are a bus, and then I'm like, for God's sake.
Yeah, that's it. Whatever. I'll go back to my book. I can still open that.
Yeah. Definitely. Oh, so you have to tell everyone a bit about yourself, because I've really been looking forward to speaking to you, and I'm so happy that you said yes.
Oh, it's funny because I'd said in our first conversation, it's like I've been listening to you and Jason for years, so this is probably much easier for me. But I mean, as far as who I am, I'm just like a lifelong fan of cinema. But I love independent arts and artists. I think because I play in bands and we were, there's lots of different creative ways to make money, but I got really involved in like the Indiegogo and sort of the crowdfunding things. And through that, because my passion, I just love theater. I'm not an actor. I don't make movies, but I just love cinema. But the people I met through the crowdfunding and just social media in general, like you could be in a movie group, which is actually where I met Jason, I think was in a film noir. When he was probably hashing out ideas, I think I met him just before you launched the podcast. But then we were just talking about movies we liked, but it was, and then all of a sudden I realized, and he was just another person in this chat room. And then I didn't realize, and this turned into, like, it's sort of what brings me to having this conversation with you here now. Like, it's kind of neat with the social media, how many times I've been in a group, I've made a comment on an independent movie. Thankfully, it's been like a nice comment. And then like the director's right there. Oh, I really appreciate it. Like, oh, Jesus. Like I didn't realize, like, yeah, I was right there. But it's neat. So I do. And it's just the experience has gotten me. I mean, everything from, I've had my band's music, because like I'm sure, well, all the Indiegogo stuff, like the perks, and you could everything from just pre-purchasing a copy of the movie to things like acting in a movie, having your band's product shown in the movie. So it was like all kinds of. I've been doing this for years, and I've just had a lot of fun with it. And yeah, I say one of the good friendships that's come out of that was with you and Jason over the years. So yeah, I've been enjoying the Speakeasy for I think 5 years now. So.
I'm surprised we haven't put you in a nut house by now.
No, it's hysterical. Like, and I just been like, I'm usually at work. I'm just talking back with you, like I'm sitting there. So it's kind of funny to actually be doing this. You have no idea how amused I was by the idea. I wish Jason was. It was no. I had so many things to tease him about, but maybe another time.
Feel free. Just throw it out there. That's absolutely fine. Jason teasing is always allowed.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, anyways, but yeah, no, it's really, other than that, it's just for day job. But I was like, yeah, I love it. I love the films. I love being able to do this. Like, I love reading about the. I think I never really. I don't want to be in movies. I think the process. Oh my God, like weeks to get a few minutes down on film or however they do it now. It's I don't think that would destroy the process, would probably destroy the love for me. So I've never actually wanted to make movies or be in it. I just want to enjoy them, talk about them. As I get my thrills here.
That's good. Yeah, you're probably right as well, to be fair. If you had to spend like 6 months like painstakingly trying to sort something or do something or find somebody, by the time you come around to watch it, you probably think, ugh. So yeah, it's nice to have the separation. I'm a bit like that with art, and it's sort of like art and drawing and things like that, which is why I could animate it myself, this other idea, but it sounds horrible. I really don't want to, because I know I will really have to yell at myself every day to sit down and do it, and I will fight every whim in my body to not do it, because I love doing art and stuff like that, but I have to be in the mood. So I could sit down in the mood and I could do a gorgeous scape, and I could do this and I could do that, and I'm like, yeah, it's fabulous. If you make me sit there and they could have a gun to your head going, you have to draw a stick man, and I'd be like, can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah.
So I don't want to. I kind of like this script, and I don't really want to be at the end of it going, fucking just kill it.
Well, you're so at the mercy of being like at the writing end of the process. I mean, but you're at their mercy too. So you write it down, and then it's like you give it away to them, and you can only just sit back and they'll have at it and do what they want. And at that point, I mean, you're more powerless to. Yeah, it's just I don't know if that'd be a better or worse. I'd probably like that better, and then it's just like, okay, I've let it go. I've done my part. I'm off to the pub now. We'll see.
Yeah.
I know that must be very difficult. It must be very, very difficult to actually something that you have created just to put it out there and see what happens and what they do with it.
It's a hard balance, really, and that's why I work with Jason, because if it was left to me, I wouldn't let anybody change anything ever. But you can't do that. So with Jason, I have a nice balance of, I will send him something, and then he will send it back. And then and he will take out one particular scene that he knows that I am adamant on. And then there'll either be a back and forward about why that scene needs to go back in, or I'll go, actually, that works better. That's done. You deal with it now. If there's a back and forth about the scene going back in or whatever it is, that's why I kind of produce a little bit, because then I'll have to sort of like make my case like Perry Mason. Like, no, we need it for this, this, and this. And then he'll sort of like do his case of why, from his point of view, we can't have that. And then usually we'll find a compromise in the middle. It usually boils down to like budget or something. Like, this is ridiculous.
Well, I can see that.
We can't afford it.
Well, Dark Winter was a very I mean, that I got the feeling that the Dark Winter was I mean, that could have been like times 10. Like if the budget had been there, you apparently you probably could have spent millions on that with I mean, time shift. Like, there was so much, and you could see how you were doing and I did listen to the commentary on that. And I think it's not funny. I mean, I felt bad for like the people in the day, but it was like you go up there and you're filming your scenes in the snowy woods, and you come back the next day and the snow is all melted, and it has just literally ruined everything. Like, how you can't now proceed without, because it has just disrupted your continuity, and it's it was fascinating, but that was, especially that movie, seemed like there could have been 5 sequels. It seemed like it could have been a 10-hour epic, I'm sure. I got the feeling there was more to that story, a lot more than did it get presented in a graphic novel form? Did I read something about that along the way, or someone was planning on? Did that ever come to fruition, or did I just imagine reading that?
No, we were going to do a whole range. So we were going to do basically everything that we had was going to have multimedia. So it's going to have a graphic novel attached, a book attached, like a script book, and behind, like a production book, basically. A graphic novel, a soundtrack, and a game. And then we were going into, I think it was either just going into lockdown or just a couple of weeks prior or something like that, and all the kind of manufacturing places just went. So we had everything, we had all the PDFs and everything ready to go. We did manage to put a few on Amazon, and we've got a few that are ready to be released in about 2 months. Once Jason's finished fanning about filming, he has to kind of like oversee everything, because I'm not very good with the dimensions and things for the book, so I can put them together, but the America has a different fucking paper format, which I do not understand. So I just can't get it right so that Amazon will pass it, because they're like, pictures are going off the page. It's ridiculous. So he kind of needs to do that. But a lot of the graphic novel stuff, we haven't been able to find a manufacturer that can actually print it properly. Basically, we can put it on Amazon and we can have it made, but it's not very good quality, considering that it's a graphic novel. You know, it doesn't do the images that Ian's done justice.
I've seen some of those. I know what you're talking about. I have, I've seen some of their in-house. What you're mentioning there, and it's a bit blurry, but rough on the edges there for sure. But no, it's interesting. Like, well, I love the multimedia idea, though. I do. I'm a fan. Like books. I mean, like everything. I mean, all of this. Moving's a nightmare. I'm never moving again. Never. This is the last place.
Awesome. So, why did you pick this particular film?
I was just. It's funny. I didn't. and then it sort of came out too, because then someone was just asking me they're talking about this movie, and so it's really weird. How do you know about that? It was so you'd mentioned possibly doing this, and so it just started with I just randomly saw this movie years ago, probably before I'd really thought of noir as a concept, but it was just a sad film. I thought that there was something about everybody. This wasn't yelling and screaming. There was no yelling and screaming. Everything was just sort of, and even though it was such like a happy, like California and Florida, these sunny climates, but it was just so, and it wasn't raining, nothing, nothing was wrong, but everything was wrong. And I thought it was really interesting. And then I started getting into film noir and stuff like that. And then I learned about the neo-noirs. And I think when we first talked, I'd said I'd actually questioned, I'd sort of floated this idea, and then I was like, oh, I don't know if this even qualifies. But I just thought that it did have a lot of the things, like these people just going nowhere, and it was just like, it was just such a depressing vibe. And but once I actually started reading about the movie, it's apparently like a cornerstone of neo-noir, and a lot of people do feel so. So I was on the right track there, and it has actually just this month been released by Criterion Home Media, which is kind of cool when they do. That's always sort of a bit of like a feather in your cap when Criterion releases your little movie there. It's sort of, it has put you up. I don't know if they're as big in the UK as they are here. I don't. It's kind of I don't. Yeah, it's probably different there.
Not really, because I don't know how it is for you. But we have a lot of film noir specific film channels that are accessible to everybody. Like TCM comes to mind, but there's a lot of them, so you don't have to have a subscription to X, Y, and Z to access them. You can get a lot of them very easy. So because they sort of constantly run, and because there's constantly so many of them, a lot of undiscovered film noir does
come up,
get discovered quite easily. Yeah. So if there's a bit of a bigger re-release of something, like years ago, they used to have film noir box sets in HMV, which is still going, but very expensive. And you'd pay, so they do like the Humphrey Bogart set for Christmas, and you get like 5 of his film noir films, or you get like the James Stewart set, and you get like 5 of his, a mix of 5 random ones. And they were really popular. They were really expensive as well. You're talking like £70, and this was probably about 10 years ago for a box set of film noirs. But now, I mean, there isn't really places to buy them as well.
Well, as I said, like and even when I was saying that with the short film, everything is just so different now, and you touched on that with the streaming platforms. Like, it's cool, but if you want, I mean, we're a fan of like British TV, British crime. I mean, it's just all my life I've loved that, but it's like, okay, 1 or 2 channels. I think we just sort of got rid of Netflix, but it's like you said, XYZ. You have to have so many. Oh, I want to have this kind of streaming. If I want to watch soccer, well, I have to have this whole platform. If I wanted to watch racing, this. And at the end of the month, it's like, whereas before, at least with a cable package, you just sort of paid one bill and you could have your tiers. But now it's all over the place. So I do tend to buy more stuff if there's something I really want to see. I just buy a copy. It just seems easier than having all these subscriptions and stuff that you can find it used or whatever. But no, it was just the film as far. I got off topic there, but it was just an interesting film, I thought. And then and I hadn't really thought about it too, but it's also, with Gene Hackman and being in the news, one of the last episodes of the Speakeasy that I actually was able to listen to at work, it was closer to the time that Gene and his wife had been discovered, and there was probably more questions, and foul play was still really, and I'm sort of glad to I've gone and read about it now, and they don't think, this is a couple months on now, that was not the case, but it's still such a sad story, and it was just advanced Alzheimer's, or and just not really being able to call for help, and that he'd been alone with her for the week or whatever, it was a very sad story too, but there was that. It's still in the news.
Yeah. Yeah, I always hate hearing Alzheimer's stories as well. I know there's loads of other stuff that happens in the world, but I made a short film like 15 years ago. It was like the first one that ever got made with Lance Henriksen. And I'm not going to say too much because it's not really out there. But that kind of had a theme which is getting more and more prevalent today, of people kind of dealing with it themselves and hiding and things like that. And so it always kind of makes me sad because that story kind of was, I used to do care work at the time, so I worked with people that had Alzheimer's, so it's not nice. It's not a pleasant way to live when you see it. Even if you know, and that's just somebody removed from it. That's not even the people that are there every day. So
you'd want to be, you know, I'm sure he felt good. I mean, I could, you know, in his position, that he'd be applauded for, like, you know, we don't have, you know, being like this Hollywood person. We don't have him. We don't have a staff of 100. There's not all these people. Like, we're just regular folks. You know, we just live a normal life, and it's just us. And that ended up being, you know, the downfall of not having, you know, just someone coming and it is it's just sad all around. But there is there is that though. But I just the movie itself is just, it's such an interesting movie. There's other things, but I thought we'd talk later about them because that would have to do with the spoilers. So I thought we'd leave the spoiler stuff to the end because there's other interesting things about the movie, but we can talk later about that.
When did you first find Gene Hackman then? Because I'm always interested in this, because he's done such a wide range of stuff. No two people have the same answer.
Yeah, it was not Bonnie and Clyde. It was actually it was a French Connection. I was fascinated by this movie. So I was raised by my parents, split up, and then I was split between them, sort of equal time. One lived in a city, one lived in a very small farming town, and this is like the 70s. So I had like very different, but cinema, they were both huge cinema fans. So my mom was like a horror freak, and my dad loved crime shows. But I saw everything that nothing else that my friends at school had seen, like The Choir Boy. I mean, stuff that was completely inappropriate. But I saw The French Connection. I mean, I was probably like 7 years old, 8 years old, but I remembered it. It was just like, I vividly remember scenes in this Popeye Doyle. And that was the first one. But he was, you know, he was, and then eventually I saw Bonnie and Clyde, and he was just like this big, tough guy. And then I saw The Conversation, and that just blew me away. And that was the role where he would have just been another like big tough guy. But when I saw him do that, that was what the moment like stopped me in my tracks. It's like, I love quiet and subdued. And I think his role, he's a Harry in The Conversation as well, but the role in The Conversation, I don't know, have you seen this movie? Do you know the film I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So the two Harrys, I find in a sort of on a personal level, the LA one is a bit rougher, but they're still more introspective, just a bit more thoughtful. This is not the character from Bonnie and Clyde, not this big, you know, beer brawling or Popeye Doyle type. But so I think The Conversation was I loved that movie when I was younger, and just thought he was just the coolest because he could do. I was just fascinated that like all these, I mean, that's acting, right? Like you're pretending he can do all these different roles. He didn't just have the one thing.
Yeah. See, that's totally different to me because I actually, the first one I ever watched was No Way Out because I really liked Kevin Costner. And then I watched Absolute Power and I was hooked because I think that is one of the best films ever.
I don't think I've ever seen that. I'd have to look that one up.
And there's another I actually really liked. I can't say the name of it properly, I don't think. The Royal, is it Tenenbaums?
The Royal Tenenbaums, yeah. They're the hysterical. That's is that the one with the Stillers? I'm just looking him up. Yeah.
The weird, like, dark comedy, like, oh my God, I love stuff that's just like, weird. In my head, that was just like, love it.
Yeah, the Royal Tenenbaums. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben Stiller. Yeah, that was the one. Wes Anderson. No, he's it was actually Bonnie and Clyde. It was like a long time to see that movie, and it was good. I liked it. I was actually, I think I think it was just all about the end. I really love Michael J. Pollard. I think he's a wonderful sort of character actor, and honestly, for that movie, he was really the high part. And the wife, I can't remember the lady that played. I think it's Gene Hackman's wife. Is sort of along for the ride, which is a really funny character. But no, it's he's really, but he has shown up in so many movies too, where just like these bit parts where he's just like cameos, I guess, or whatever. But no, it was just, but I've always come back to this movie, and it was just such a fascinating movie because of the mood. And yeah, it's just like nothing. I mean, it's spoiler. Nothing gets solved. Like it's so pointless. But it's that's the noir aspect of the movie for me, anyways. Yeah. But I'm getting ahead of myself, so I'll stop.
Well, I've actually had to do Jason's job today, and I found a drink.
Oh, did you? Okay, cool.
I did. I don't. Okay, there's not a lot to it because there's not a lot to me. So, less complication the better. That's what I'll say. It's called the Florida Fade. So it's a swampy, smoky twist on a classic old-fashioned, slow brooding and slightly bitter. Thought you'd like that for the film. And the ingredients is, and I'll try to pronounce everything because I don't know what half of it is. It's 2 ounces of rye whiskey, half an ounce of orange liqueur, 2 dashes of Agnostra bitters, I think that's how you say it, a splash of cold brew, and then you just garnish it with orange peel.
Well, I knew everything up to that last, the last thing I've never heard of. I know the bitters, because that was this weird, dirty little bottle. I used to work in restaurants, and in the bar part of the restaurant, there was always a little bottle of bitters, and I don't know what they would put it in one of the drinks, and it's just some bitter. It's like a bar version of Tabasco. You just put a few drops in a drink, but I've never actually tried it. But that last ingredient, I've never heard of. I have no idea what that is.
Splash of cold brew. Splash of cold brew. Let's have a look. Because I have an idea, but I could be completely off. Because I was thinking it was coffee. Like a splash of cold coffee, but I don't know how frequently they put cold coffee in a cocktail, to be honest with you.
I don't. That's actually not a bad idea. I could see. I'm sure someone has. I would.
Yeah.
I actually wouldn't be able to.
I'd like that.
Yeah, I would like. I was just saying that actually sounds pretty good. I can see the appeal.
We'll go with that then. That's what it is. It's a dash of cold coffee at the end.
Oh, cool.
Cool. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and press the button so that we can watch the trailer. Now, when I was looking on YouTube, all of the trailers that I found had no music. So I don't know if that's because there's some sort of copyright thing where they're not allowed to play the music or not.
Oh, absolutely. So, yeah, I have not seen the trailer of the movie, so this will be interesting.
Yeah, this was a first for me, actually. I like watching old trailers. Right.
I think Harry would like me to leave.
I don't think that's necessary.
I think Harry thinks it is.
Harry thinks if you call him Harry one more time, he's going to make you eat that cat. Gene Hackman. Is Harry Mosby.
Hello, Harry.
In Night Moves.
Come on, take a swing at me, Harry, the way Sam Spade would.
He's a private investigator.
My daughter, Deli. Would you believe Delilah? Well, she's gone.
How long gone?
2 weeks. Go find her.
Making a living.
Well, it's a $125 a day and legitimate expenses.
From other people's lives.
You can get cheaper.
Can I get better? You're hired.
Making a mess of his own.
And you know that? I catch you screwing another guy and do it.
Lifestyle has nothing to do with it.
Night Moves. It's a mystery.
I'm looking for Deli Grassner.
Deli isn't around here anymore.
Where the suspects are also the victims.
I want to know what I walked into.
Ask your wife.
Well, are we going to talk about it?
But a sure ball run with it. Where the questions
All right, what's it all about, Mosby?
Is there still much smuggling going on around here? The dogs have fleas.
Where were you when Kennedy got shot?
have too many answers. Where every clue is a lie.
I've been listening to your ping pong talk long enough. What was in Marv Elman's plan? Drugs? Was it drugs?
Night moves.
Check. Check.
Ah, it's a beauty.
It's a game where every player is a pawn.
Harry Mosby, isn't it?
Every move is a wrong one. And the winner loses everything.
Shoot, what it's all about.
You! What the hell are you all about?
You're asking the wrong question.
Gene Hackman in Night.
Wow, they were giving away. That's why I don't watch trailers. They're giving away like so much there at the end. I don't have to worry about spoilers now. They just showed everything that we might have talked about.
Yeah,
But,
well, that's
I've
what
never
I thought
seen
was
that.
interesting, because after you mentioned about the spoilers, I was like, yeah. And then when I found the trailer, I thought that's the actual, apparently official trailer, and they've just like given it all away. So
Without giving anything away, because that's the that's definitely the interesting thing. But we can talk when it's time about that. I mean, when we get into actually talking about the movie. But it's funny how they make Harry. I mean, like, it's a trailer, and they're sort of pumping him up, and they're not really showing, because it's said as part of what, you know, like why Gene in this movie, and part of what makes Gene in this character is he's so sort of hapless, and he's so like clueless as to actually what is going. He doesn't have his finger on the pulse of what's going on. He is throughout the whole movie to the bitter end, one step behind what seems to actually be unfolding, and he's just trying to keep up with, you know, by the time he does go back to Florida, it's just damage control. It's not, he's not solving anything. That's why that's why I said it was such a fascinating performance. But
yeah,
I don't know if I got
agree.
ahead.
Well, I've made you a special synopsis in a nutshell,
Okay, yeah, I can't wait to hear this now.
just for you. I've actually put more effort into this one than I do with Jason, so it will probably end up being worse, but I've tried. A downbeat detective takes a simple missing persons case and somehow turns it into a full-blown existential crisis, with both betrayal and enough Florida sleaze to require a tetanus shot.
That is excellent. I actually had sleaze written down here at some point. I'm going to cross it off. I was like, well, that's excellent. That's yeah, it is perfect. That is captures in a nutshell how it is just this simple case, and how you couldn't, the look on his face when he solves the case, which would be at that point bringing his young charge home, which you know, that's what he was assigned to do, find this young girl and bring her back to California to her mother. And the look on his face when he delivers her to this, it's still like this nightmare, this hell. And he's wondering, you know, notwithstanding what was happening in Florida was equally bad. Yeah, it's that nailed it for sure.
Yeah, because I may have missed something here, because when he was in the office and he got the message from her, and then he just hung up halfway through before she finished, I was screaming at the TV like, listen to the damn message. Did I miss it, or did he just not listen to the rest of that message?
He never listened to the message again. He didn't go back to it. But and it happens very quickly. James Woods, the wonderfully creepy James Woods, as
I have
Quentin.
no idea that's him.
Her boyfriend. It's the second time that Gene Hackman sort of accosts Quentin. Quentin tells him, he says, and so this is like, again, we're going to go into full on spoilers territory here now. So Quentin says, no, man, didn't Deli tell you? She left you a message. And the whole thing was, up until that point, we don't know who Deli saw, the body that she saw in the plane. She never told Harry when it happened, when she was so horrified. But it was Marv Ellman. This was someone, her technically ex-boyfriend. She knew this guy. And this was when you start realizing that everybody in this movie knows everybody else. So yeah, he didn't listen to the message, but Quentin, that's the last thing Quentin tells him before he sort of jumps out the window and makes a run back to Florida. But there's so many. That's the thing with this movie. It was really, really interesting. Is you could watch it and go, okay, well, this is happening, that's happening. Then you get to the end and like, well, Jane didn't die. But if you start asking, like, wait a sec, why did all this happen? And it doesn't, like, why did Marv's plane crash? Like, what, like, why has all of this happened? Like, what like what started everything? And it sort of becomes fascinating. I mean, there's so many questions, and Marv, the plane pilot, he could have had a heart attack and it would have just started this whole sequence of events, or everybody just starts killing everybody. It's really, but they don't really give the answers. I think they did as an existential crisis. It is left wide open. It's up to us, the motives. I learned something about this movie, but I'll let you talk and say, because you've obviously.
No, carry on.
Oh no, it was just an ending, an ending thought on it for years. So I saw this movie like a long time ago with all these questions. You could easily say, okay, the guy in Florida, he was taking out his partners, but I never understood why the guy in the plane was shooting at Harry. But it was one of the, and I just in research for doing this show with you, I read it, someone talk about that. So that guy, that was the guy with the cast. He was the one that was in the car with Deli. So someone had tried to kill him, did kill Deli. I couldn't understand why he was trying to kill Gene Hackman. And what I learned was he wasn't. He thought that was Tom Iverson driving the boat, and that's why as the plane is sinking, he's banging on the window, like looking all pleading. I think, why are you pleading for? You just shot at him. He did not know that was, he wouldn't have shot at Gene Hackman. But that sort of solved everything. So then I kind of figured out, and I think all it was Tom Iverson and his girlfriend Paula were going to run away with the statues or the money, and they were just sort of, they took out the pilot. Unfortunately, the girl found the body, however likely that is, swimming, so they had to take her out, take out Ziegler at the same time, because that's just more money for them. And whether or not Harry would have been in the way, that would have been what it was. But that's as best I could come up with. A very, very confusing story if you actually think about why it happened and why these people are doing the things they did.
Yeah. That makes sense, actually, because there's no logical reason, really, that he would have, or anybody would have anticipated him to go back to Florida.
Exactly. It's or Quentin going back to Florida. And part of it was, even though Quentin pledged or claimed his innocence, this guy, Tom, in Florida, probably was using, that would make the most sense, this Quentin, this mechanic, he could sabotage the plane, which killed the stunt pilot, and he also sabotaged the same car, which killed Deli, and unfortunately didn't kill Ziegler. So that, and then, but James Woods, he's so perfect in the role. He's so just like creepy and icky. But he gets scared because he's been roughed up a little bit by Gene Hackman. He comes running home. And no doubt Tom Iverson's like, I'm done with you, like into the dolphin pen with you.
Bye-bye. Yeah, I did. When I started watching this, I was like, I didn't read anything about it, and I didn't watch the trailer or anything like that. I just thought I'd just watch it. And I loved, it took me straight back, because it's been a while since I've watched a film, regardless to neo-noir or anything, where it really puts you in that gritty 70s look and that feel. that it just looks like you feel like you've stepped back in time when you're watching it. And I was like, oh, quite like this. And then Kenneth Mars came on the TV, and I love him. He's one of my favourite actors ever. I think I nearly died watching The Producers when he was in it, of laughter. Genuinely. Even now, he's brilliant to me. And I thought, we're on to a winner here.
Kenneth Mars, was he not the one in The Office that put him onto this?
Yes.
He's not even on. Yeah, that's a bit role. You spotted that? I'm not actually. I know the producers. I did not catch that. That escaped me in the trivia. That's literally.
I saw him. Because every time I see him, his lines start running through my head. You know where he's going, the birds, the birds. So I had to pause it for a second because I was chuckling. I thought, I hope he's not in it too much because it's going to take me out of it. But
oh, that's excellent.
And what struck me the most was the dialogue, because I really thought that the dialogue exchanges were brilliant. There was no overblown exposition.
Realistic.
Everything was snappy.
But they were like real people. It was such. It's on so many levels. There's a handful of movies I've seen. It's that 70s, some of those 70s crime movies where they just nail it. I had a quote here somewhere, but it was Alan Sharp. Yeah, I think it was the and I'd read about it. He was I don't know if he won awards for that, but yeah, the dialogue was especially talked about. But no, it was just they did nail that feel. And like I say, I was raised on these movies. It was a funny, actually, not a quote, but they call it have you heard like Watergate Noir? And it was this thing. So they talk about, and even though this movie sort of started its life many years before Watergate, it finally was produced after, but it's a time in Hollywood with this. It's like they're describing the cinema of the time in these kinds of movies as this coldness, this bleakness, and it's actually a term, is this Watergate Noir. And I think there's like the Parallax View, Clute, Jane Fonda, or all these sort of, these same kind of not desperate characters, but just not losers. But it's just, they're not exactly heroes. It was just like such a dark, dark, like, and there was such wonderful neo-noir that was being, it was actually, once I started reading about this, all these other films that start coming up from the era, and it was a real, that whole little, I think, early 70s, there's a slew of films in there that could have easily talked about. Yeah,
Clute's one of my favorites. I really, really like that. And as soon as you said that, it takes me to the visuals that they're probably talking about. Yeah, it's like, again, it's hard to phrase it. You don't want to say like grimy, kind of seedy characters, because they're not grimy and seedy. They're just probably characters that you weren't used to seeing. Like, who would want to make, in that time, who would have gone, I know, we'll make a film about a prostitute and a police officer. Like, it's not particularly things coming from maybe like the 50s that you would have expected to be seen, I suppose.
Well, I think I saw that written about how they, and this is like a whole other thing that they could talk about with this movie, with Night Moves, sleaziness, but how they chose to handle Melanie Griffith at her young age and her role. It's very startling now. We, generations on learned, and there's like, it's a different era, and we just keep saying that. But the one quote I read was like, the majors anyways, you would never, they are not making that story. They're not making that story about this 16-year-old girl and filming it the way they did. It was, some of that is a bit, there was stories about, some of the scenes she did being actually underage, and then other stories that, that was filming was in 73, but the film wasn't released until 75. And by 75, Melanie Griffith was 18. So that makes it fine, which was strange. And it's like Tippi Hedren is her mother. And
Mm.
I like her whole Hollywood experience. It was sort of like there's that whole like when you talk like sleaziness. I mean, I didn't really, not really reading into it, or I think like, well, I believe Tippi Hedren is still with us, and they're I don't know much about that, but it was just sort of, I thought it was interesting, definitely interesting how they. But you would never see, I mean, anything like that now. But much like what you said about Clue. It's a different era, like, and that's the thing about 70s movies that probably makes them appealing too, is you realize that you're watching something that you would never, I mean, like, it's a time and place thing, right?
You have to take them, for the time that they were made in. That's the biggest issue, and it's the hardest thing to do, because even we've struggled when we've watched some old noir films, and you're watching it thinking, oh God, this is terrible. But you have to stop yourself and go, well, no, it's not. It might be terrible to what you used to watching now, and other styles of film noir that you've watched where they managed to punch each other and actually made it look like they made contact. But you need to understand the context of the time. Was this one of the first films where they'd ever tried? In which case, that elevates it straight away. And I think that's a problem with 70s films and why people jump on them so much now. It's because they're not understanding the frame of reference for the time.
Yeah, you can't erase history. It's not gonna. It's just, I mean, I would say it's just educate, I guess. But it's no, I think it's important that the films are there. But I mean, at times, so it can make for or movies that I've seen night movies many times in my life, but it can make for difficult watch it when you sort of you forget about things, and then you just see some of these, you're exposed to some of this stuff, and it's like, it's just, sometimes it can be shocking how, I mean, as crazy as things are now, how sheltered we are now. And it's just sometimes you be on, like, watching these movies, and it's like, oh my God, like you forget, or even just the little stuff, like the lady dying in the hospital, and the doctors and her family, and they're all sitting on her bed, they're all smoking, like talking about this poor lady that's dying, like there's just so many, like it's just like funny, it's
Yeah,
sure. But you can't lie about it. You can't change it. I mean, it's just what it is. So you just, people just have to understand it was a different time.
Yeah. And she, to be fair, to her credit, she does an incredible performance. And I would say that perhaps she does put in such a good performance that you naturally would have assumed that she was older than she was, like, as a viewer.
I thought there was a really important scene, not inserted. I don't mean that. That sounds like it was an afterthought. I thought there was a really important scene, though, after she has seen the traumatic. I guess we've talked about it. After she's seen the accident back home, when she's having the nightmare. That's a little girl, like that's a little, like, and I thought that was like, it was really telling that as grown up as she was sort of playing that who she was, I'm this young adult, that after that experience, she was sort of reduced to being that, it was like really the little girl that she is, and the crying and screaming, freaking out because of the bad dream. But I thought that was really important because it just helped remind people it is like, it's the end of the day, it is basically just a child here who's dealing with these, horrible, like what was happening around her. But no, her performance, I mean, was brilliant. I never really had thought of, I mean, I can't really list, famously, I know she was married to Don Johnson, Miami Vice, Don Johnson, he was a bunch of stuff, but Melanie Griffith, she was around, but her acting in this movie, when Gene Hackman is telling her that first afternoon that he's actually there to take her back, the look on her face, the fear of being sent back to, and I never really determined if Arlene was actually her mother or her stepmother. The detachment was horrible either way, but I never actually figured out if that was the girl's mother or not. I missed that. But her Melanie Griffith's performance, her acting was brilliant. I thought she such a good job.
Yeah, I really saw a lot of. I've never really seen it before when I've watched Dakota Johnson, but when I was watching this, I was like, oh, she's really got the look of a mother. I can really see it here. It really kind of shone through. But I also think Dakota Johnson looks an awful lot like her grandmother. I think she's really got a look of her as well. A bit of an aura about her of her.
I'd never even thought about that. I never actually made the connection. I forget. Sometimes you forget the lineage, and I did know that at one time, but I'd forgot. I just sort of relearned about Tippy being her mom, and it's like, of course, I knew her mom was somebody, but I couldn't remember. But it's neat to see for sure. Did you enjoy the film then? Like you did? Did you feel, or is that getting ahead again? That might be final thoughts type stuff. I mean, it's just sort of.
I've never seen an underwater fight like that.
You've never seen the zombie?
Like a
You've never seen the guy fight the zombie underwater?
Like, I mean, I've seen Aquaman, but yeah, it took me by surprise when they started throwing each other around in the water and kind of like couldn't figure out what they were trying to do. Were they trying to punch, drown, kick, save? But I did quite enjoy it. I liked the pace of it a lot more, because sometimes with these sort of like detective crime mashes, they kind of throw everything at it. So everything's happening, even though the story's not really going anywhere. All these characters are doing stuff. There's evidence popping up, there's connections popping up, and you blink and you can't keep up with it. You end up like, it's really hard to follow. I actually really enjoyed the pace of this one, because you didn't have to go, oh God, who's that? Oh God, what's that?
Did you enjoy?
He was kind of so melancholy. You were melancholy with him.
How did the parts with his family affairs? Because I personally had thought those were a bit, but I think it was done on purpose. I think this is totally why the director did this. They were oddly placed. They were sort of in this LA, Florida drama a bit, and then he's there and he's on stakeout, and it's his wife, and all of a sudden he's dealing with family affairs, and those moments seemed to be, to me, like awkward, and all of a sudden, like, they were like abrupt cuts, and now we're doing this. I thought we were on a case, but I think that was completely intentional, because that was Harry's life, and this is what Harry is juggling and he's trying to deal with, but this is his wife, and so I get that. But so at times I would have, like, I thought like, oh well, the pacing's a bit off for me, but I think they actually, in hindsight, they probably did a really good job of like depicting, well, no, this was his world, like what he was dealing with.
Yeah, I have a theory on why they're there. Because I noticed whenever he speaks to his wife, or there's anything personal relating to him, there's a load of noise in the background. So I think they're talking on a driveway, and there's just aeroplanes just making just ridiculous noise flying overhead. When they're in the kitchen arguing, he's turning the blender on. It's just a ridiculous amount of noise. And I feel like, I might be wrong, but I feel like they've maybe included those bits, which, to be honest, weren't my preference of the film, but I feel like they've included those moments to kind of, show kind of like the fog and the noise and the confusion that he has kind of in his own head when he's not doing what he's doing. And also to show he's a perfect candidate for someone that could have been thrown into this world with these situations and done exactly what everybody else has, i.e. been very inappropriate with a young girl, gone and been part of the group that's going to smuggle things for money. And even though he's got all this kind of stuff going on, he still chooses not to be that person. So I wonder if it's an attempt at kind of showing where the dark side lies for him and how easy it would be for him to just join this world, but kind of make us root for him more, because he's not. He does still keep coming back to the noise and trying to make sense of it, because without the wife, you don't really, like, he's a footballer, but you don't get a lot about that. Really, it doesn't need to be included in the synopsis or character that he was a former footballer.
It was you hit it right on the head. I did have similar things in my notes there about and I think at some point I'd badly written that all this horror and stuff around him, like him not beating up this fellow that's having an affair with his wife, was the more horror he saw. It was like, at the end of the day, Harry was a decent person. Or I said, I don't know if he was a decent person, but it was like something snapped and it was making him a decent person. The more he saw in bad, it's more it made him want to be good, was this sort of strange feeling. And I couldn't really write it down. I couldn't write down what I was thinking, but you kind of just said it there. It was, it's just kind of, was making this choice throughout to be, I think, decent, was regardless of, because seriously, almost everybody around him was doing something horrible at home and at work. And it was, you said it very well there, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. That's one of the things that I have noted about it that's negative is, for me personally, it's a little bit long.
Yeah, it was
took out those scenes.
You couldn't take them all out.
Like make it shorter, but I don't think you get as much from the character. So
it's funny. One of those scenes, I think, or even him sort of accosting I don't know what we call him. I have his name here. The fellow that was having the affair with the wife. The Harris Yulin as Marty Heller. Yeah. But at one point, Marty Heller says to him, it's like, oh, come on, why don't you beat on me like Sam Spade? And like, I think he's suggesting, like, because Susan Clark had told him that, Harry he's this brute. He was like this rough ex-footballer, he would beat you up like Sam Spade, but he's not doing that now. And I think it's just everything happening here. I think the movie actually was showing his I don't know, or maybe not, but he and that was one of the noir things too. They're constantly, it's like they're throwing him into this noir movie, like that guy making that was a definite film noir reference, saying, "Oh, you beat on me like Sam Spade." At one point, I actually read this, I didn't notice it. The girlfriend in Florida, when she's telling Harry an erotic story, she's talking about a young boy. She drops a name. I thought it was just kind of funny. Marty Danweather or something. This young boy, her first love. That's actually the name of Humphrey Bogart's character from Beat the Devil. But it's like throughout this movie, there's people, it just seemed like trying to place Harry in this film noir as this role, as this guy, and he doesn't want to be this character. He's trying to be a better person, and I thought it was sort of hopeful. And then a lot was written about like the very, very end of the movie, when I don't really know what they're saying. Some people say, oh, he's supposed to be dying, and he sort of whacks at the control in the boat, but the boat just going in circles. I thought that was a brilliant idea, because I thought that would be like, no, he's alarming air traffic or something. But they were saying it was more like symbolic of him just going in circles. This has been his life. This is his, this is Marty's end, just going in circles. So
yeah, no, I feel like there's two. So that tells who a person you are. So I think moving forward in life, if you want to spend time with somebody, get them to watch this and ask them what happened at the end, because there's the miserable people in the world like me that look at that and go, well, that's just the fucking cycle of his life. He's going round and round in circles. He's gone round and round on this case, and now he's in hell going round and round and round because he's dead on a speedboat that he shouldn't be on. But then there's other people who were like happy and positive, and they'll be like, oh no, it's fine. They're going to see him. Like, he knows what he's doing. He's trying to make a sign. It's going to alert somebody.
No, it's all the sequels. Why actually I really love the movie. It's an excellent. I was really happy to actually have watched it again, because I hadn't seen it for a few years, and I was definitely taken in by how much it was like. I got brought back to all this. A lot of stuff that I hadn't thought about too, but it was definitely interesting.
Yeah. Was there any characters that you thought didn't work?
Not Really? No, it was a very economical film, I think. Is what sometimes I do. I don't want to make movies, but sometimes I think about that. There was no excess really in this movie. I think it was every character that I can think. I mean, like, I wrote down my little cheat sheet of actors here, and like I said, I didn't put was it Nick, the guy, that fellow you had mentioned. He's the only one, but there's like not even 14 people there. So there was no one unnecessary. I think everybody did their role. Everybody did their part very, very well. I was surprised that I didn't actually know much about these Susan Clark. There was a lot of TV people here. Like Melanie Griffith was great. James Woods, obviously. I do love James Wood. I don't know if you're a fan or not. He's so wonderfully creepy.
Yeah, I do like him. I do like him, and I didn't know that was him. I didn't realize even until afterwards.
Oh yeah, no, he's. But he was honestly, besides Melanie Griffith, I think he was one of the only ones in that really jumped out that I'd noticed. But just Gene Hackman, I mean, he owns it. He was so good in this. So yeah, I was thrilled to be able to talk about it for sure.
Yeah, and I think it has the best scene ever when the boat just goes. Sorry, the plane just goes.
Oh, I couldn't. Yeah, it was. See, and that all tied into. I didn't understand sort of why everything was happening the way it did. And it's like, well, why is this guy in the plane? Why is he trying to kill the girl? Does he not see the lady in the water? Or maybe he doesn't see her. But again, honestly, I think that the guy in the plane, that would be Ziegler. That I think if my theory was right, this Tom Iverson and Paula seemed to be taking people out. They took out the stunt pilot. They took out Deli. They injured Ziegler. So Ziegler, I think, had gone back to Florida in as a defensive move, and not because I was like so cold blooded how he kills the woman in the water, and she comes up there, and like, well, maybe he didn't see her, and then I think that's when the thing comes up, and that the statue takes out the plane, but. It's I had to watch, even after I'd seen the movie so many times, even this last pass, I had to watch the end like 3 or 4 times because there's so much happening that I think they sort of want you to see. And like I say, I only just realized, but this frantic Ziegler in the plane, I never understood, why is he pleading? You just tried to kill Gene Hackman. Why would you be asking for help? But, it explains so much. But it was the end of that movie was. I'm glad that you said spoilers were okay because I thought it was going to be very difficult to talk about this movie without doing the spoilers. So.
Yeah, listen, we weren't discussing this without talking about some woman getting hit by a plane because that is just brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, how many times is that going to happen in her acting career? So yeah, no, that's a good one for sure.
Yeah, that's great, and because I was thinking for the time, like, I forget how good stunts were in the 70s. I always fall into that trap. So I was watching it, and I was like watching the TV, and I was doing my usual shouty thing. But I was like, screaming at TV. So, I'm gonna hit her with a plane. That's just not going to happen. And then they did. And then I was like, oh, it's just made that for me, because that was so well done. Every single stunt in this film was flawless. It was brilliant. And I love the fact that they incorporated stunts into the story. So it wasn't just there for a purpose.
It was a story about stuntmen. It was, that visual at the end was quite something. Have you ever seen the documentary about the independent filmmakers in Australia? And specifically, if you ever get, I think it's just called something like Made in Australia. But George Miller is talking about making the original Mad Max movies. And it's incredible. He's going, no, like, you don't understand. We were just going on the desert. We were just like crashing. He says, I can't believe. He says, nobody died. And there was one specific, very bad injuries. I think someone broke a back. But he says, I can't believe nobody dies. It's like, we weren't, there's permits. It's like, we were just going out there and like blowing shit up and like crashing these cars and just running film and capturing as much as we could. It's if you ever get a chance, get him talking about the filming of Mad Max. I think he's actually specifically talking about the first movie, the one that fewer people talk about, which I love. It's one of my favorite movies, one of the most exciting movies, one of the most exciting car crash movies I have ever seen. Bullet, obviously there's so many, but that first Mad Max is just, it's an incredible movie. Like, to think, like you said, the stunts, like what they used to do, what they actually had people doing is just, I don't think they breed people like that anymore that you would be able to fool into these jobs. Like,
Oh, I don't know. Have you spoke to people on Twitter sometimes?
Yeah, no, that's a place I fear to go. I don't go near that. I don't know anything about that. I'm insanely on hip and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always a possibility, and I'm not being funny. If one person joins in, then everybody else wants to be, in it. So, never say never. That's what I'll say.
There was some other thing I was just trying to find, though. Where was it? There was one thing. Did you know Gene Hackman was nominated for a BAFTA for this role? Did you know that? I did not know that. I don't think so.
I'm surprised that there wasn't more, though, because normally BAFTA is like, you get like Oscar, BAFTA, and something else that I can't use, a Golden Globe. They tend to like be a little click of three, don't they? If you get nominated for one, you have a chance with all. So I was quite surprised that was kind of like the only acting thing that I saw that he got nominated for.
Apparently, it did not do well upon release, but with the advent of, I'm reading off my notes here, with the advent of home media, it quickly took off, and it has become a cornerstone of neo-noir. I read that somewhere. And I thought it was funny because I say at the beginning of this conversation, I was even questioning to you if we could even consider it a noir film. So how much I have learned. And then similar films. There was, and again, I talk about how sad everybody was, but yeah, there was a couple films. Cutter's Way was another film from the era. I don't know if you've ever seen, but yeah, if we ever get a chance some other time. A fun film to talk about for sure. Or maybe I'll do do you guys do the what do you call that, the Patreon? Do you still do the Patreon? Maybe I'll nominate Cutter's Way on the Patreon. Do you guys still do the Patreon for the show?
No, we don't, because it was like we didn't think that what we could provide quick enough was worth asking people to donate money, especially as a lot of our things that we kind of had were either at the beginning of COVID or ideas pre-COVID. So once we kind of went into COVID, you have to sort of change everything because you can't sit there asking people for money, and some people haven't got jobs anymore. It's just not.
Yeah.
Unless you're giving something really, really substantial that you are 100% is worth even asking and committing to it. I just think it's just not really something to be done.
No,
so we kind of, we may go back to it eventually, but we'd have to be making sure that we had enough sort of things that was worth, you wanted to watch. You actually felt you were getting value for money for, as opposed to just watching what we could give you anyway, sort of thing. But yeah,
I'm really excited to get.
Send a message and we will.
It'd be it'd be funny to hear you guys talk about that. But it's no, I'm looking forward to actually bringing up the channel. I will. I'm lazy. I have to dominate my YouTube channel. Just get control of it. So at least because I have my proper channel, but I don't remember the password. But it's the only reason why I'm not able to. I can't subscribe. I can't do anything right now because I'm sort of like locked out looking in. But I would love to actually see, to see some of the content that I feel like I've been missing. And honestly, I didn't know that you could watch. I listened to funniest episodes. We were supposed to talk about the funniest step. I never talked about the funniest episode or my favorite episode of the Speakeasy Noircast ever. Do you know which one it was? I have told you before. Do you know which one it was?
Is it? I remember you telling me a story about you being at work, but I don't know
Yeah,
if that
this is
was
the one.
off that
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah, I think it was called, and I can't find it. I think it was just tagged on to the end of something. It was Carly and Jason making fun of people's IMDb comments. Oh my God, it was hysterical. And I'm at work and I'm catching big, heavy pieces of and it was just timing, and I'm stopped and I'm laughing and I didn't look. And yeah, I got hit that day, but it was, no, it's a funny thought. I mean, like, I just will always, you guys.
I feel so bad.
It's no, it's not negative. It's no, that's wonderful. But that is one of my favorites. I was laughing so hard at that. But I really enjoyed like Chinatown, because you didn't agree on that. It makes it so good. Nightmare Alley, I really, really liked what Jason. I don't know if you remember these. I mean, how like it's easy for you to recall these. I did not like the new version of Nightmare Alley, and I couldn't really explain to anyone why. And Jason really explained what I was saying, and it was so cool because I was like, "Yes, exactly, that's it." And what it was, his point was no redeemable characters, and he said it so simply, and I was like, "Oh my God, that's it!" I didn't even realize. You just like solved everything because it was a wonderful movie. I love the filmmaker, and I was sort of like, and yet another one I'd been disappointed in, and then ID and your whole thing with that Reese Instill, that was fascinating. That was really cool. I really really liked that. That was so that was sort of like a 2-part because I think you did the ID episode, and then you had Reese back a while later. Like that wasn't the same. I think I'm not remembering 2 different things here. I think
we did 2 different versions for that. So we did
because there was like an
Jason
interview.
Couldn't be there. Yeah, he couldn't be there for the interview. So I had my friend Aaron, who sometimes steps in for us, who did it with me because it was all UK time, so it was just easier to do it that way. And I can't be trusted to press buttons on my own because I would have just thought I was recording it and nothing would have happened. So I was like, Aaron, I need somebody. You
guys do everything at 4 a.m. too. I know, it's so crazy over there. You guys love 4 a.m. No, I'm joking.
So we did, because he has quite a big following of people, and there was a lot of people that didn't really know the Speakeasy Noircast, we thought it was probably better to do 2 episodes. So we did one where it was just the interview for pretty much just his fans and his fan base. Okay. And then we did an episode where Jason and I watched ID and we put the interview on the end for the Speakeasy audience who wouldn't necessarily know who Reese was.
Okay, that's what I had heard. Because it was the ID. You guys talking about that movie? That was I remember reading about that. I wasn't. I was old enough to be vaguely aware of just like the times and like the soccer riots, and just hearing what was happening. That kind of. I think my dad was, we actually have English roots, so there was always, we would my parents paid attention to the old country, so it was. That's probably that would be. I think it was in the notes here of favorite episode. That one probably it for sure. I think it was just so informative. Like I learned more in that one episode. I mean, there's a love that you guys did Roger Rabbit. That was so cool. Leon the Professional. I think that was fun. That might have been the one where you guys are making fun of the IMDb comments. It's around the same time you did the Leon the Professional, because I remember what machine I was working on.
We did do
it's like a bonus
database one of The Purge because I had to work through lockdown. I'd got so far into it. I think I'd had like a really, really bad, ridiculous, exhausting couple of days or something like that. And I was literally losing my marbles. And I was like, Jason, I need to speak to somebody that's not queuing in a shop yelling at me. And we didn't have like a film or anything. And we just ended up doing that one. And for years, I've been saying to him, can we do an Internet Movie Database episode on our Internet Movie Database reviews for our film? And he will not do it. He won't have it. But I really want to because...
I think I have a review on that. Are you talking about Curious Case? Or which film?
We could do it for all of them. Like, And some of them would be funny and some of them would be bad, and that's absolutely fair enough. And then some of them would be funny and they would be good, and that's absolutely like it's a fair mix. They're on there. Why not? Why not just have a laugh? And
no, it's ability to laugh at yourself. You know, you're halfway there. Then right? No one's going to get you.
Yeah, so. I mean, I used to advertise our films until I got told off. I used to advertise them on social media with like a little banner. So it was the poster of the film, and then it would have all the bad reviews on there. And then there'd be an empty space with an arrow, and it would say, your bad review could go here. And then a link to watch it. And it worked brilliantly.
Oh, that's excellent. Well, I will definitely get that channel brought up. I want to get that because I want to see, because I think there's some new content I think that I haven't seen, that I haven't actually caught up with. I know that Jason's been hard at work at his movie. Are you involved in the movie that he's been, is it Space Rat? Is that, I don't want to say the name wrong. Do I have that right? I know he is deeply involved. Well, they filmed it a couple of years ago, but they seem to be just like in post-production now or something like that.
Yeah, it's basically, it's Space Rodent. It's
Space Rodent,
now.
that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's done now. So it's done a couple of festival showings, and as far as I know, it's probably going to be released around about October time, as far as I know right now.
Okay. And then when you say release, so do you guys still put like the effort into like the hard copies? Sometimes they seem to be up, and then other times, I mean, is it still? I mean, because like I don't know, like even like the grandkids now, I don't know if people are even buying Blu-rays and 4Ks and things like that now. So I mean, I wonder sometimes as a filmmaker, or when you say we're going to release a film in December, that basically just means to streaming platforms, and there will never. I mean, do you still put the time into actually like making the physical copies of it? Is it still feasible?
We don't get me wrong, we have had to do a bit of swishing and swapping, and at the minute we do need to look for a secondary creator platform basically to make the Blu-rays and the DVDs for, because there's a few areas where we can't send the films to, particularly the documentary. So I think if you are in Brazil, for example, and you want to order it, you can't.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's a bit limited, but we still make them. You can still buy them. If they're available to send, then you can buy them off our website. And then when we do festival screenings or anything like that, we always have a bunch of DVDs to sell, Blu-rays to sell. Yeah, we do have we work with a distributor as well who does it to get it on the streaming platforms. And then we kind of deal with the physical media, if you see what I mean, like notebooks, pens, books.
Well, I love physical media, and I do have. I mean, I think I've got the two copies of the books, and then I do have a physical copy of it. I think honestly, Jason just sent me Dark Winter, and then I believe, and then the CD actually too. Like there's the music, which is in my car. I work nights, so driving home is often for me. It's like 1 a.m, and it's a wonderful CD for just. I have a bit of a commute coming home, but the music from the Millennium. It's that. I think you included that. I think you were the one that actually sent off the last copy of the book, and you just started throwing that in. But yeah, that was brilliant. I love that CD. So but I do love to see. Like I say, I'm a sucker for physical media, but I just don't know if other people are, and I love it when I see it. And it's funny with a lot of these people, these young filmmakers that I follow and talk to. It seems funny to them, but they're all doing it. They're really jumping on it. They seem to be having fun, and these are guys that are making like pretty campy kind of horror movies and stuff. But they're having a lot of success releasing limited numbers of VHS, and their fan base are buying these because it's nostalgia, right? It's totally, but they're selling out on these things, and for like this time and effort, if they're just producing these at home themselves, I'm not really sure how they're doing it, but everybody seems to be having a lot of fun with it. So it's again, I really love seeing where so many avenues for independent filmmakers, and there's so much you can do. And I love hearing about the multimedia that Resurrection is embraced. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I look forward to see a graphic novel or any of it. It's screenplay from Dark Winter.
Yeah. Well, that's you can get that as an ebook at the minute, but we have got a bigger version that I'm kind of like, I'm not really encouraging people to buy ebooks and things. I'd rather wait until we've got.
Yeah, I'll wait for the physical copy. Ones. Yeah, I'm waiting. So I think we talked about that one because I'd love to read that because all through watching Dark Winter, I love the story, but I just feel like I'm not getting this whole I'm missing something here. And then I finally had settled on, no, there's a lot more story. You can feel it. There's so much more story that, needs to be told. And you talk about it, then there's, budget constraints. I love the backstory. I love listening to commentary and this story about, and now I think that was Jason's wife with Shawnee and how, blood appearing on a sleeve, and then it's how but then we cut that scene, but no, why is the blood? Well, now we have to do this, and how one little thing can change, and undo days or of work. But I love the
it's a headache. I promise you, that was such a headache. He rang me at 3:00 in the morning my time, going on about blood. I was like, what? And for about a week, I was like, we have no way to write ourselves out of this. I don't know. And he didn't know.
So brilliantly,
somebody just made a comment like, well, why don't you do this? I was like, let's do that. It's going to look crap, and we're going to lose a massive portion, but that is literally the only option we have, or we'll scrap it, basically. Yeah. So we're going to do that.
No, see, this is the stuff. This is why I love. I just and the thing is, time and time again, I go see big studio movies, and I just seem to have less and less tolerance for these studio made things, and when you actually are sort of exposed to something in a smaller movie that is a product of a workaround. It's just, I don't know, not refreshing, but I love it. I love that you guys I hope you keep doing what you do. It's, I'm a huge fan for sure, but I can't wait to read the screenplay because I want to get a handle on what's actually going on there.
I think what we were going to do, I'm pretty sure that's what's in the final version because it's been a while since I boxed them off and put them to one side for Jason to look at. I'm sure we had the original script that we wrote and the shooting script in it as well. So there's actually a comparison of what we were originally kind of going for, because we originally wrote it in 2 weeks, and this was after talking and meeting. We just thought, let's just get on with it. And then the actual shooting script should be in the back for any variations of what was lost.
No, it would be it'd be a thrilling read for sure. Yeah. Or a sequel, or has there ever been talk of revisiting that? I actually saw there was terminology for that. The name of the elders or the community, and there was a word the stories of. But has there been a talk of revisiting that sort of universe of characters?
Yeah, because originally we were going to do a universe. So we set Dark Winter in the universe of Collapse, and then we had another film called Alone.
Okay.
Which involved a werewolf, which kind of would have been either in the confines of that place or something that's kind of got out, and it had the Saffron character from Dark Winter is in Alone. So we were going to do kind of and then there was another one. I can't remember off the top of my head what that one was, but there was another one that was also in that world, and we were all set to start doing that, and then Room 19 just out of nowhere got a lot of traction, so we kind of just shifted all of our focus to Room 19. Yeah. And then we would have been okay, but again, it's just the wrong time with COVID. The project, the money kind of just went, and now we've had to. I mean, we're very lucky because there's a lot of companies that aren't still around. It's only because we've actually had physical media for sale that we've actually survived. I think, to be honest. Physical media and a lot of content available. So now we're kind of regrouping and coming back to the ideas. So Jason's he's made a couple of films to get himself back in the mix and find crew, find people that want to help, find people that are visually aligned with us. And then kind of just go back to the ideas of what the priority is.
Well, I think you're grounded. I mean, like I said, I've been following the work you folks have been doing for a long time now, and you've had the right idea. I mean, this whole thing. I love seeing people working together, and it's I look forward to seeing what's coming up. But I think things are coming back around. I mean, it's unfortunately a very, very strange and dark time for Jason. Now, I'm not going to get into that, but. I wish him the best of luck. It's just seems to be a very strange place to live right now. I don't, and I don't know how that would affect his job and being in the entertainment industry. If it, how much? I mean, in my day-to-day job, we're affected by the politics of that country. But it's, I don't know. I can't imagine what life is actually like for Jason. I mean. I'm sure you hear the same. Like we hear horror stories coming out of, I just try to not look. I immerse myself in, this fantasy world of films and try to avoid the news. I really don't watch the news. It just makes me sad. I'd much rather watch zombies tearing faces off or anything, but I think the news.
I am the same. No, I am the same. I would rather kind of like watch Titanic 2, think about how ridiculous it is, put it on again, and then go bed happy. I'm totally the same. I think that's why people like these camp indie films so much, because you put it on, it gives you something to moan about, but it's not the world,
Yeah, exactly. And it's just a fantasy and like a fantasy world, and it's not and I still do. I love my deep, my heavy movies, but it's sometimes you just have to sort of build yourself up for them. But I do. I'm a huge fan of Count. It's just nonsense. My collection of Mad magazines, and love all of that stuff.
You'll probably like what we're doing next, then. Space Rodent is kind of in that vein, but it's sci-fi, and then. The Yellow Balloon, which I'm helping line produce, is like crazy, made for a purpose, fun, blood.
I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to that. No, I definitely keep my eyes on you folks and what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, no,
that's what he's doing now. While I'm trying to design T-shirts for the shop, because we're supposed to be launching a shop soon.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I will definitely come and check that out for sure. Perfect. Okay. I don't know if there's anything here. I'm just trying to find. There was probably all kinds. I had all kinds of trivia written down. Do you know Faye Dunaway turned down this movie to star in this movie? She would have had the role of Gene Hackman's wife. And they say that she turned down the role because Chinatown started filming the same year. But then there was other stories that she had just broken up in the real world with the actor that played Marty Heller, Harris Yulin. And Faye Dunaway had been an item. This is just random trivia.
No, but I could kind of see that, the character, Tom's girlfriend, she kind of had a bit of a Faye Dunaway sort of vibe about her. I don't know if that was done on purpose or not, but I got that, kind of felt that from her.
I know so many people hated. I really liked Faye Dunaway in Chinatown. I don't know if I'm just really because I don't know anybody that liked that movie, and I think you definitely did not like it. I think it was Jason. But no, that's you're pretty much like my wife. I can't even really talk about the movie, even bring it up. She's like, "Oh God, that movie," and it's pretty much the end of the discussion. And I don't, and I kind of, Faye Dunaway is just not, I guess, my favorite actor, but I really liked that movie for some reason. But it was,
I think the hatred that comes from it, though, like, it's like Marmite. You either absolutely love it or you absolutely loathe it. And I think the reason why people loathe it is because if you say you don't like it, people have that much of an opinion on you not liking it that it just makes you just rageful.
Yeah.
It's just pure rage.
Yeah, I think I've got covered everything I've written down. I don't know. I have pages of notes here.
You are so much more organized than Jason. I love this.
Oh, I was going to make fun of Formula One. Poor Lando Norris, McLaren, Lando taking out his teammate. Well, he did, and he took himself out. But I haven't been able, I was a huge Formula One fan for years, but and again, it was with all these sort of platforms, and we kind of let the Cablevision go, because then we were just going to have Netflix and BritBox and Acorn and all these subscriptions. But I lost Formula One along the way, so I haven't been. I sort of keep track, but Kimi Räikkönen, he was my guy. I promised. I said I wasn't gonna screw around with my microphone. You remember Kimi Räikkönen in any press conference? He was always fucking around with the microphone and touching it and playing with it, and making noise. He was probably the worst driver that you ever saw in an interview on those shows.
Yeah, I loved him. I make a Velocity Legends series, and I think my mum has demanded that I do one on Kimi Räikkönen. I was like, I was already going to do one anyway, Mum, but we've kind of got to get like the top tier drivers out of the way. Drop everything, and you will do Kimi Räikkönen right now. Okay.
I agree.
So that one's jumping the queue a little bit. So that will probably be out.
I'll look forward to that. I think I saw him once go from 23rd to 3rd. He got, ran out of gas. Something stupid happened to him, because he always had the worst luck. And but unlike someone like, say, Vettel, for years, like winning all these races, and Vettel, he was great when he started in first place and he just drove away from everybody. But how many passes did he actually make in his career? Not many. Kimi Räikkönen probably made more passes in one race than I think I ever saw Sebastian Vettel do in his entire career. And then Alonso, I think we agree on Alonso. I love that guy. I didn't know he was actually back, and I get it. I understand sometimes people will be like, "Oh, that's so sad," seeing him. And it's like, well, no, it's data, and he's helping this. I believe he says Aston Martin. But what he brings to the team for development, he can come back and tell them exactly what needs to be looked at in this car. So, no, it's good. I just, it was thrilling. He was one of the first ones to sort of break up that era of Michael Schumacher just winning remember how boring that was when Schumacher just won everything? And I think it was Juan Montoya and Alonso were like the first guys that actually cracked Michael Schumacher in that reign of terror that just went on way too long.
Yeah, I will not have anything bad said about Fernando Alonso, because for years all you heard was how horrible he was, and what a mean person he is, and he might be, I don't know.
Well, I never heard of that.
To World Endurance, he was in the World Endurance one year, and my daughter was about like six or seven, something like that, maybe a little bit older, and she has been mad on him since she was a little baby. And we went to Spain, and we had to spend like €50 on a blanket because it was Fernando Alonso. She started screaming and pulling it and wouldn't leave. And even the bloke was like, "Well, take it for cheaper, just stop her crying." Like, and she went, and she had this oversized Ferrari hat from like 20 years ago, and she had a Ferrari jacket that my dad had managed to get her from a car boot or something, and it had Alonso on it, and it was like the sleeves came out here. It was that big. Wore it like a dress, and she stood there, like his tent where it would be, and she stood there patiently for about 4 hours waiting with a ticket and a pen. And bearing in mind there was grown men with like cases of stuff to sign, all the way around. All the way around, it was ridiculous. Me and her dad had to stand with her just so she didn't get shoved out of the way. And I always remember Fernando Alonso is so tiny. He is ridiculously tiny. And he came running from like out of the pits or something, and he sort of like scooted all the way around like a little friggin' rabbit. It was like, and he popped up right in front of where Lily was, and he went to go in his tent, and he stopped and he turned around because she went Nando, and he turned around and he looked at her, and he looked at her jacket, and he looked at her hat, and he stood there for about 2 minutes and just delicately signed her ticket for her. He even dropped a pen and like picked it back up for her. And I remember he looked at me in street as if to say, "Are you with her?" And he looked at all the crowd of people that were queuing for merchandise. And he put the pen in her hand, and he put the ticket in her hand, and he held her hands like that as if to say. And then he span around to me in street and then fucking ran off. Straight in his tent. And
oh my God.
Honestly, there was people fuming. Dad had to pick her up and run to the other end of the paddocks.
Oh my God, yeah.
Grown men.
That's incredible.
So I will never have anything bad said about him ever.
Yeah.
I will fight anyone that says anything bad.
No, he was they say one Fernando Alonso pass was worth like 100 NASCAR passes. No, he was thrilling. It was thrilling to watch him. So it was. I was glad to see him back for sure. But and then I hear there's the new Kimi, the new Mercedes driver. So I don't know. I got to find a way to watch Formula One. I did. I loved the sport. It was fun for sure. But,
yeah, it is expensive though to watch. It really is, and you used to be able to watch it on different channels. Well, there's only one now, so
yeah, and that's sort of where it went. And I was surprised, and it's still Coulthard's still there doing it because I sort of watched just some highlights of it, and I was surprised to see he's. I loved watching. I mean, Coulthard. I think he was teammate at one point with my favorite driver, Villeneuve. There, my Canadian boy, but I think it was like 99, 2000. I think they were on the same team. I think that was around when I first heard of Coulthard. But it was sort of good. It's a friendly voice. It's sort of surprised to hear him there. I'd sort of forgotten about some of these people.
I like him.
Yeah. I heard a horrible story about him crashing, and I think he was a driver still, and he was being flown in a helicopter to a race, and the helicopter crashed, and 2 people died on this helicopter, and he went on to race that day. And then afterwards, the press were sort of attacking him, and they're saying, we're in this life and death situation, and then you are so cold that you went on to race. And he just David Coulthard very calmly, he's like, every time I get in a Formula One car, it is a life and death situation. And this is what these people, this is their business. This is what we deal with. And it just said a lot about, the person who he was. Yeah, that was.
I can believe that.
David trivia. Well, I can't find my very last page of notes. I did have a last page there. So, yeah.
Well, it's time then for you to do your rating. I'm going to let you go first.
I think, I was just trying to find if there's anything that I hadn't really said. 10, what was it? It would be a perfect. Well, I would always just try to keep. I mean, this is so close to a perfect film, but I think I would always keep 10 for perfect film. So I got this at 9. I think 9 gins is fair. I did feel that, although they were important to the story, a bit of the scenes with the home life. They dragged a bit, and it wasn't just that they dragged, but they were awkwardly placed because you're settled into this mystery and this all this stuff happening with Deli, and then all of a sudden it's just this awkward sort of change of gears, and why are we here? Why? Who's this guy? But I do believe that it was completely intentional and on the filmmaker. So I don't and when looked at it that way, well then it's good. But it's I guess sort of why I gave it a 9. But probably just because I don't want to give away a 10 so easily for a perfect movie. But no, I love this film. Absolutely love this film. I love Gene Hackman. I say this film and The Conversation are my 2 favorite Gene roles. I love the quiet, introspective Gene. He's very good at it, and you don't see it so much.
No. Okay. So it's a 9. Quite high. So I was dancing around a 9 and an 8 but I didn't quite like it enough to give it a 9 in compared to other films that I'd give 9s to. So I'm gonna say 8 because I'm with you. I understand and I appreciate the home life and wife stuff, but it was quite hard to watch because of the noise factor and things like that. Maybe the
That's
way
really interesting. I thought that was actually fascinating when you pointed that out. I'm going to go back and watch that, and I actually think that's a really neat thing. That is such a cool the idea. You said as soon as the blender coming on, like actually I thought that was absolutely like a brilliant way to.
That's probably like what my husband hears when I start moaning. He's like,
yeah, well, no, it's like what the filmmakers, it's going for is just this noise of his life, but it's just the fact that you caught that's really cool. I think that's actually kind of I know it's a negative for you, but it's a very neat thing, and I'm going to go back and at some point watch this again, and I want to pay attention to that. That's a neat insight for sure.
It is good. It is cool, and I really like it, and I appreciate it. But maybe if they'd just done it once. But when they're outside on the driveway, there's not a plane flying that low, and it gets a bit kind of because even if you're interested in what's going on with his personal life, to me you can't concentrate on it because you're like, what? See, you're having to spend twice as much concentration on those scenes to be in them than you are on any other scene. So for me, coupled with the fact I did feel it was just a little bit too long, I think we had too much time at the house with the Tom and his girlfriend and Deli, and if that could have been a little bit shorter, and then maybe you wouldn't needed to lose the scenes with the wife because they are good for the character.
Yeah. It was a strange time there actually when he does go to Florida where there were scenes like the movie forgets itself, like we're making a movie here and everybody came back to work, because they were just sort of milling about, and it's interesting for sure.
Yeah, because there's a lot of nice quiet moments in when he's there, like when he's playing chess and he's explaining basically the title of the film. And
I never.
If you look into it, he's probably explaining the plot in a chess move. But because you had sort of like something a bit long-winded prior to that, and then you had more long-windedness after that, it took away the impact from that just single sort of like quiet moment, which would have then been more impactful towards the rest of the film.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I didn't. It could have. So it would come back. I guess that would be then in pacing, but it was. Yeah, it did. It was funny in the middle, but I don't know. It was one of those films. I'm trying to say it was. For me, I think it did actually suffer from watching it too many times too, because I'd seen it.
Yeah.
I a bunch of times, but just more recently, I don't know if it was because we were doing the show and having a critical mind that, like I say, where on one hand I want to say, oh well, these scenes were important, but it did. I probably wouldn't watch the movie again in the near future because I don't want to not like the movie, and it could be one of those things where these things would just become more and more apparent, and these sort of gaps, not gaps in the narrative, but sort of in the action. There wasn't really a lot of action in the film, but I was like, it's fair.
I think the ending was absolutely fantastic. I really, really did think that was brilliant, but it wasn't brilliant enough to make up. It wasn't brilliant enough to come, like Primal Fear, where you think, oh my God, this is boring. Ugh. And then you see the ending and you go, oh my God, that's made the film.
Yeah.
It was good, but it wasn't as good to compensate for the other kind of nitpicks that I have. Because I don't think 8 out of 10 is bad. Like, it wasn't a bad film, and Gene Hackman is fantastic. But I wouldn't, like you said, I wouldn't rush to go and watch it again.
No, definitely not. I think it would suffer from that, for sure. It's I forgot what I was going to say. They no, I just completely lost my thought there on that. But it's no, it was a funny one like that. But I did overall, I did enjoy the film. So I think I just sort of would leave it at that. Like would stop thinking about it. Like it was. The funny thing I thought was when I had seen, when I really loved the film, especially the ending there. I loved that ending so much that I never noticed for years that it didn't actually make any sense. And it was, again, only until we started doing, like, I started researching and really thinking about the movie that, and as I said, I came up with all these questions like, well, no, wait a sec. Why did that guy's plane crash in the first place? Like, I understand all these people did these things, but like, why were they doing these things to each other? Like, there was no logic to it. And again, like, that would be another thing that if you watch the film too many times, this sort of lack of logic, or noticing things like when they went swimming randomly in the middle of the night, right over top of the place where this guy is. Do you know how hard it'd be to find a plane crashed in the ocean? Like
in the dark.
Yeah, exactly. So, or was there more to the story? And maybe Tom and his girlfriend sort of knew, and they were, covertly sort of scanning the area, like there's all these what ifs. So it was bit, I don't know. I mean, my 9 might be a bit high, but I think just I always sort of I have that film close. It's just because the film has a place for me. I discovered the film a long time ago, and I love the mood of the film. Just that moodiness, the darkness, the, I don't know, eternal, perpetual losers, sort of like, not losers, but just these. The best line was his wife comes into the room of the football game, and it sums up the whole movie perfectly when she says, "Who's winning?" And he's like, "No one. Just one side is losing slower than the other side." It was like, sort of summed up like the whole movie. Like, there are no winners. Like, there's just, there's no point to any of this. So
that was such a great line, wasn't it? It's like, yeah.
So no, it's just like, I mean, like, I'm happy with the 9, but it was I'd say probably a bit generous, and I wouldn't, I say if we were to come back in a year and reassess the movie, I don't know if the 9 would hold as well, but for now I'll stick with the 9.
I think that's fair. I think that's reasonable. I think Gene Hackman's spirit can be happy with that, because
him and Melanie Griffith, and I was really blown away by such a young age. I mean, she really did. She got to do some acting there, and she was. I was really impressed. So no, it was good. The whole experience was enjoyable. I had a lot of fun doing the preparation for the show. It was really it was an interesting week or two there. That was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, no, I'm really happy that you did. Thank you. And next time we do it, we'll make that Jason Morris be here.
That would be so much fun. We can get like 3 things across the front there.
We'll get 3 windows, and his window can be the tiniest, and then you can pick a film that you know he's going to hate. Oh, okay, that would be so much fun. Yeah. Oh, I'd love to. No, well, thank you so much for having me. It was an absolutely thrilling experience. I ended up staying up all night because I wasn't going to sleep anyways. So I'm going to go have a nap now, I think, and I'll you feel bad because now you've injured yourself because of us and stayed up and had like a lack of sleep because of us. So I'll say what you folks are doing to me, and I will look forward to seeing what I see I will get control of my YouTube channel, and I can't wait to see all the content out there, and I'm really looking forward to some of the stuff that you have come up in the future. It sounds very exciting. Thank you again for having me. Thank you. This has been really fun. Thank you. Okay.
Bye-bye. He's looking at you, kid.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Speakeasy Noircast. Make sure to visit our website, resurrectionfilms.net, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or any of your favorite podcast apps, so you'll never miss a show.